The Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return.
Hi, my name is Amy Newman, and my husband Bobby and I have a business called Newman Intervention Services. We provide intervention services for families who have loved ones struggling with drug addiction. Our goal is to help individuals get the support and treatment they need to overcome addiction and start on the path to recovery. With our personalized and compassionate approach, we guide families through the challenging process of getting their loved one into rehab and onto a road of a healthier future. Together, we can make a positive difference in the lives of those affected by drugs. If you or someone you know is in need of an intervention, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Let's work together and bring hope and healing to those battling addiction.
Call 866-989-4499 today and say the word podcast to get a 10% discount. Or go to newmaninterventions.com and type in the word podcast for a 10% discount. This service comes with a free 1-hour consultation with Bobby. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. Today's interview is with a father whose devastating loss spurred him to start a movement that has found some of those responsible for the opioid crisis and brought them to justice. Stay tuned. But first, a word from our sponsor. Hello, I'm Joni Siegel, the host of the Addiction Podcast. In 2022, over 100,000 people died from drug and alcohol abuse, and that number is growing daily. Fentanyl poisoning, pot, cocaine, heroin, and even psychedelics and alcohol all contribute to this crisis, while we're bombarded with promotions from thousands of rehabs. Newborns are born addicted, and the majority of homeless people struggle with drug addiction. Drug dealers exploit online resources to sell to teens, and antidepressant use is spiraling out of control. This podcast features brutally honest guest interviews revealing harsh realities and offering hope and solutions through their stories. We don't sugarcoat anything. Guests speak raw and real. More importantly, you'll find inspiration to understand, overcome, and achieve recovery, whether for yourself or to help others. Some within your own family, many among your friends or associates. Whether you're seeking help or just a glimmer of hope, our podcast equips you with the latest insights to confront this generational battle. Many listeners tell us they want to join the fight, but do not have the time or money to act, lobby, or just help. If that's you, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and see how you can help. Ed, it is nice to see you. I feel bad about what brought you to us, and I will ask you to tell us about that. But I know that you have been going above and beyond to help with the opioid crisis and drug addiction in this country in general. And for that, I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Joni. Yeah, I've been on here a few times. And for anyone that doesn't know my story, which goes back in 2001, first time I ever heard the word OxyContin, my 18-year-old high school senior son, Eddie, was lying dead in his bed from it. And that started me on a journey. That very night, me and my family wanted to warn kids about OxyContin, and we started faxing the high schools in Philadelphia, PA, where we lived at the time. And ever since then, I could never imagine. Almost 25 years later, I'm still at it. Purdue Pharma is still in business, even though they are going bankrupt. And so I got some things I'm going to tell you about what's going on, and then I'll really get into the Purdue case, which people, and it is very confusing. I'm even a little confused right now.
I understand. We've definitely talked about that before. Well, I just appreciate the fact that, you know, instead of just giving in to the grief and the loss, which would be completely understandable, you and your family decided to, turn it around and educate others and, make a point of not letting something like this just go away. And I appreciate you doing that. I wouldn't I wouldn't have faulted you if you had just decided to just, kind of give up. But, you didn't do that. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And like I said, none of this was planned. Just took it a day at a time after, loss of a child. That's all you can do. And I will say, getting involved, helping to warn others, definitely helped me, get through the, the loss of Eddie. So I got a couple things going on. So
Go for
first
it.
off, First off, this is Eddie. This is how it all started. This is 18 years old. This was taken in October. He died in February. Um, so which brought me a long journey. If anybody's interested, you Google my name, Ed Bisch. There's articles out there. There's the Addiction podcast, which goes into detail. Some of the highlights, though, I was able to give a testimony in 2007 at the Purdue Pharma sentencing in 2007 when they should have been put out of business, should have went out to jail, should have went to jail. And it's detailed in the great series Dopesick on Hulu and also in Painkiller on Netflix.
And
And
sorry to
but
cut you off, Ed, but just in case anybody listening doesn't know this, Purdue Pharma is largely responsible for the opioid epidemic in our country. They produced OxyContin. They lied about it. They lied to doctors about how addictive it was. And they're responsible as far as I'm concerned. And so, in case you've never heard the name Purdue Pharma, you'll hear it a few more times in today's podcast. Go ahead, Ed.
Definitely. And like I said, so 19 of the parents were able to give victim testimonials that day. And most of the parents were members of RAPP, Relatives Against Purdue Pharma. That's what we started, us parents. And 2003, we did the second protest against Purdue. First protest was done by three moms standing outside of Purdue Pharma in Connecticut in the dead of winter. And I read about them in the paper. I said, that's a great idea. One of the moms was in RAPP. And, here we are. So it's Relatives Against Purdue Pharma. And I actually call fentanyl OxyContin's grandchild.
Mm.
And it would nearly, this thing should have been squashed, all but squashed in 2007. Make a long story short, there was a 120-page memo of felony crimes listed with evidence. And the very top of the DOJ at the time sat on that memo. Us parents had no clue about it. The judge, that day in the courtroom, the judge was apologetic. I'm paraphrasing, he said, I wish I could give them jail time, but I have to follow the sentencing guidelines. Well, he never saw a 120-page memo detailing their crime. This all came out years later, and like I said, to fully understand it, read the book Dopesick or watch it on Hulu. That is the best book and show about it. I call them the Sackler cartel. Empire of Pain, that's by Patrick Radden Keefe, a famous author. That really gets into it too.
You are listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information on the podcast or to reach out if you have a story you would like to share with us, go to our Facebook page by the same name, or you can email us at theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com or go to our website, theaddictionpodcast.com. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate you listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. We don't do this podcast because we are former addicts. We don't do this podcast because we have loved ones who have suffered from addiction. We do this podcast because we feel that addiction is one of the biggest problems facing the world today, and that no matter who you are, no matter your religion, no matter your income status, no matter your race, no matter anything about you, addiction affects you. Many listeners tell us they want to join the fight, but do not have the time or money to act, lobby, or just help. If that's you, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and see how you can help.
So that brings us up to 2025. And today we're recording this August 7th. Just happens to be my birthday. And it's a good one. I am 62 today, and I just retired.
You're awesome,
But
Ed.
I wouldn't spend it. I'd rather do this than just about anything
I was going to say,
else.
even though
And
you
I'm
say
going to dinner later.
even though you say you're retired, if you're like us, because we are retired,
Right.
until this drug problem goes away, we're not going to stop. I
Right.
mean, we can't just sit back and go play golf every day, you know?
I'm retired from my 9-to-5 job, which happened to be night work. I worked 42 years of nights.
Okay.
So I am just so happy I'm sleeping at night.
There you go.
So let me give you some things that's happening.
Okay.
On 9lives.org. This is the first year they're doing this. They're doing fentanyl awareness walks throughout the country, and they're going to have virtual events. So if you're interested, check it out, walkforlives.org.
Walkforlives.org.
Right.
Okay.
On 9/27, trailoftruth.org will be in Washington, D.C. I am going to try my best to be there. I was there the last 2 years. They set up over 1,000 tombstones in front of the Capitol, in view of the Capitol. It is a moving experience. And they're going to be talking about the opioid settlement funds and how they're being misused and how the grassroots organizations, and I'll go into that a little more. But that's a good organization. Like I said, it's truly everyone there. There's not a dry eye in the place.
And when is Walk for Life? Ed, when is Walk for Life?
Walk for Lives is 9/20.
Lives.
Trail of Truth is 9/27.
Okay.
On October 18th, Washington, D.C., I'll definitely be there for this. LVOF.org. LVOF.org. Lost Voices of Fentanyl. They're doing their 5th rally, calling for more attention to the fentanyl crisis, warnings, and they want action. And I am very happy to say that this year is going to be a little different because we're finally getting action, okay? They just closed the de minimis loophole, and everybody says, what's that? Basically, and I'll probably get this a little wrong, but basically, there was a law that if a package coming from China or India or anywhere in the world was valued under $1,000, it wouldn't get inspected. Do you know how much fentanyl or precursors you can ship knowing, let alone pills, whether they're real or counterfeit, because if you order something, you don't know what they're sending you.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're shutting that down, so that's going to really help. And that was a really big deal. They also signed the Halt Fentanyl Act, which is really going to help law enforcement crack down on the illegal precursors and fentanyl. And one of the things, there was, again, a loophole. The law is so specific. So illegal fentanyl itself was a Scheduled 1 narcotic, which means, it's totally illegal.
Right.
But what they were doing, they would change. So the precursors, some of the precursors to make that was also Schedule 1. But what they were doing, they were changing like one molecule on these drugs, and then they couldn't be charged with certain crimes. So the whole Fentanyl Act wipes that out.
So let me just get this straight. So basically, packages coming in from China, if they were less than $1,000 value, they weren't even checking to see what was inside them. That's insane right there.
They weren't. And, years ago, before drugs was a big problem, it was just to speed things up. And unfortunately, the way of the world, they had to update it. And there was a battle. And Jim Rao from Ohio, he really pushed for this to happen. And it finally happened.
Well, it would make sense because I can't believe that the ingredients that were being shipped would be valued at more than 1,000.
Yeah, well, I'm right. So it's the trust system. Is this package under $1,000? Check a box. Yes.
Yep.
You're sending, 50,000 worth of fentanyl. Well, yeah. So finally they closed that. So hopefully between that and the whole Fentanyl Act and closing the border, hopefully we see good things. I mean, people say, oh, well, it ain't going to stop it. No one could stop it. The president can't stop it. The Pope can't stop it. No human being could stop it, but we can make things better.
And we can slow it down.
Exactly.
And we can have fewer deaths because in addition to what you and Lost Voices of Fentanyl and these other organizations are doing, we can continue to educate people that they need to educate their kids to not just try something that is supposedly Xanax off of Snapchat.
Definitely. It is so dangerous. It's a dangerous world. And, we're trying our best. And, over the last year, the deaths have went down and slowed down a little.
Well,
And
there you go.
It's, no one can say why. Well, it's a combination. It's awareness. It's the parents. It's law enforcement. Everything together. I mean, people like to criticize, oh, the war on drugs never worked. Well, this is a war.
Yep.
And we're in a war, and it's sadly, it's a forever war, but it is a war. And, until we give it the respect that it deserves, which, it goes up and down.
Yep.
Things right now, I think, are on the upward trend in battling.
Well, and I guess I'm just a meanie, but if someone said to me, the war on drugs didn't work, I would look them in the eye and say, well, what did you do to help?
Yeah,
personally.
definitely. And everyone here you get to talk to, guess what? They're here.
That's right. And they're helping and they're
Yeah,
working. And you, Mr. quote unquote retired,
they're
I know you're not getting off of this because
um,
there needs to be justice for these families, whether it's fentanyl or OxyContin or whatever. There needs to be justice for these guys.
yeah. I retired from my paying job.
Exactly.
This is a labor of love, and
As with us.
yes, just like you,
Yep.
So another thing I mentioned the 120-page memo that you
Yes.
never got to see. The man who wrote that, Rick Mountcastle,
Yep.
who's been
Yep.
on the show, who will be on the future show.
Yep.
This guy takes on the biggest Goliaths. He took on Purdue Pharma, and even though the DOJ, his bosses, buried his memo, that eventually got out, and it helped Purdue go out of business because that information was used in some of the lawsuits that eventually brought Purdue down.
Yep.
But he has another project now. It's on Amazon Prime, and I encourage everyone to check it out. It's called No Country for Old People. It's a
Oh,
art documentary, and it's about the nursing home industry. And Rick is taking them on, and he's trying to get, without pressure, they'll never improve. They'll never improve. And there's a lot of parallels to the opioid crisis and the nursing home industry.
yep.
But basically, the old axiom, follow the money, holds true in just about everything. So Rick and um, Susie Singer Carter, they followed the money. And some what you'll hear in that documentary will remind you so much the shell companies, the lip service. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars on lobbyists and PR firms, and that doesn't save lives. That just keeps their profits going, just like Purdue Pharma and pharma in general. So many lies, and
Yep.
a lot of it's being revealed. And I, for one, I am so happy RFK Jr. and the Maha movement, they're going full steam ahead. I mean, the FDA, thanks to RFK, admitted that Oxycontin was illegally approved going back to 1996 when it was approved by Curtis Wright,
Who then went to work for Purdue Pharma.
who then went to work for Purdue Pharma. Exactly.
Yep.
So, it's far from justice, but getting the truth out is something, and it's important, and there's more to come.
Yes, and let me just point out to any of our listeners who listen to what you said Rick is up to, the No Country for Old People. In case you think it has nothing to do with addiction in this country, you need to think again, because there are certain parts of the population that are targeted by pharmaceutical companies. We know, for example, that states like West Virginia were targeted by Purdue Pharma for delivery and export into the state of OxyContin. But one of the populations that gets affected by drugs like this is older people, especially those who are in homes.
Yep. Yep. So there's it's a never ending battle, but you have to try to improve things because if
Yes.
normal people like me and you, Joni and Rick,
Yep.
and everybody, guess what? Everybody here, you're either going to grow old or you're going to die before you're old.
Yep.
Not too many people actually want to die before they're old. So,
Yep.
it's something everybody should care about. Otherwise, it's going to be upon you, and you're going to be like, why didn't I try to improve nursing homes before I'm in this?
Before
God,
I'm in one. Exactly. And Ed, just because we had a little bit of connectivity issues, you mentioned that walkforlives.org, they're doing, is it a walk on September
it
20th?
is walk throughout the country, different cities. If you go to walkforlives.org, you can see if your city has one. If not, they'll tell you how to start one.
Okay.
If you can't make it or you can't walk, there's going to be virtual events that day where you could, I don't know exactly what they're doing. And then 927 trailoftruth.org,
Okay.
that's in Washington, D.C. If you read the newspaper or internet, surf the internet, you've probably seen some of their pictures. They put over 1,000 cardboard tombstones up within view of the Capitol. And Eddie has his own tombstone, has his picture, and it's a very moving experience.
I believe that. And then the 18th of October, LVOF.org, Lost Voices of Fentanyl.org is doing, did you say their fifth
Their fifth
demonstration?
annual. This was started by April Babcock, a mom who lost her son, and she knew most of fentanyl. It starts in China.
Yep.
They want to ship it to Mexico. Now they're shipping precursors and they're mixing it in Mexico, but without China. Her very first rally was outside the Chinese embassy.
Mm.
I watched that live on Facebook. I couldn't make it, but April was just crying out. And since then, they are the biggest fentanyl organization out there. Their Facebook group has over 35,000 members. They get thousands of people to go to Washington every year. She was recognized at the White House recently. She was on the stage and shook President Trump's hand when he signed the whole fentanyl act. But this ain't a red or blue issue. It's like Derek Maltz says, this is a red, white, or blue issue.
Yep.
Derek will be there. I have a picture of him and me shaking hands. He is a good man. And actually, Pam Bondi is going to speak at the Lost Voices of Fentanyl rally.
Wow.
That's how big they have gotten.
Well, and we had Pam Bondi on our podcast way back in the beginning because she was the Attorney General of Florida and she's a friend of ours. And you were talking about how they just change like one molecule and then they can get by with some of these things.
Right.
That's what she was running into with the spice drugs that were in the convenience stores. And as soon as she would outlaw it, they would just change one ingredient just a tiny bit and bring it back again. So she's kick butt when it comes to drugs, and I'm excited she's going to be part of the event.
Yep. So good things are happening. So back to Purdue. So the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy scam is still going on. Anybody who had a claim, they just got a 2-inch packet of legal documents in the mail, and it's being voted on. And unfortunately, it's a done deal. Because anyone who has a lawyer, their lawyers are saying this is the best we can get, and vote yes. So people are voting yes. I voted no myself for 2 reasons. I'm not eligible. My son was never prescribed OxyContin. He bought it on the street. He bought it on the street because it was all over the street, thanks to a pill mill doctor who bought into the Purdue Pharma spin. But even if I was eligible, I would have voted no. We went to the Supreme Court. Originally, the Sacklers were trying to get what is called third-party immunity, whereas the Sacklers, they're still billionaires. They're not going bankrupt.
Right.
But they wanted all the legal protections without declaring bankruptcy. And think about that, what I just said. They didn't want to declare bankruptcy, but they wanted all the legal protections.
Right.
So finally, the Supreme Court agreed that is illegal. So the bankruptcy is going through. Unfortunately, the victims are only getting about 7.5% of the settlement. The states took most of the money. And they said, oh, well, we're going to use this to abate the opioid crisis. And from the beginning, I just knew it was going to be a disaster because no one said, we're going to offer free rehabs. No, that wasn't said. Every state, they get different cuts, but every state decides how they're going to spend the money. So there's no master plan that to say if we do this. So far, altogether, $57.1 billion has been won in lawsuits. Again, the states get divvy this up, and some of it's over 15, 18 years, and they're doling out the money, which brings up another issue. So there's another website, opioidsettlementtracker.com, run by a lawyer who is trying to track the abatement money because this money is supposed to help stop the opioid crisis. So let me ask you, Joni. So one city in New Jersey, which happens to be where I live, they took their opioid abatement money and what's their master plan to fight the opioid crisis, the fentanyl crisis? Their plan, well, let's hold 2 concerts. So they held 2 awareness concerts, which, okay, that helps bring awareness. They spent over $600,000, Joni, for 2 concerts. Does that sound like the best use of, I call it blood money. It's blood money.
Yep.
People die so the state could get this money to try to save future lives. But when you do stuff like spend $600,000 on 2 concerts, that's not going to make a difference.
Nope.
And so that's some of the outrage. And I know the trailtruth.org, they're really on top. They're based in New York, so they have to pay attention to New York. Again, that's another problem. We can't have a national group say, okay, because every state's different. So
Yep.
all these little battles have to be fought state by state.
Interesting.
But calling, shining light on it, I don't think another city is going to waste $600,000 on 2 concerts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important that we watch and call out the wastefulness.
Yep.
Otherwise, you could have 10 concerts in 10 cities, wasting the money basically. But that's
Exactly.
going to happen now. And
Yep.
so, like I said, this war is never ending. But what's the alternative? To give up?
Yeah, no.
You give up, the deaths go up. So we keep on trying and plugging away, and there's good people out there like Rick Moncastle. Like I said, you know, he still helps me out battling Purdue, spreading awareness.
Yep.
But now he's also trying to help old people.
Yep.
And I guess 62, I can say I'm old.
I don't know about that, Ed.
Hopefully I never see a nursing home, but who knows if I live to 90,
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
So
Ed, we appreciate you very much. We appreciate everything you do. And I want to let the listeners know that you don't have to be an Ed Bisch to help with this area. You don't have to lose a child to get involved. And we're not saying that you have to get out. I'm not saying you have to get out there and you have to walk, but you can support these organizations, whether it's Lost Voices of Fentanyl, whether it's the Fentanyl Awareness Network. There's many, whether it's walkforlives.org or trailoftruth.org or Relatives Against Purdue Pharma. There are things that you can do just to support these groups, even if it's sending an email to a legislator. So if we're going to make a big dent in this problem of addiction, we all have to get involved somehow. Ed, you know this. I mean, people ask Steve and I, why do you do the podcast? Do you have addiction in your family? The answer to that is no. But I can't look at what happened to Eddie and say, oh, I'm really sorry, Ed, but that's your problem. I can't do that. That would not work.
you
Okay.
Absolutely, and I thank you, Joni. You're absolutely right, and it could be something as simple. You're online, share an article. Hit like. If you can contribute $10 to lvof.org, they have a donation. RAPP, we don't take donations. Because what we do, I'd rather money go to lvof.org or trailoftruth.org. There's so many ways to help.
Yep.
And
Yep.
every at this point, everyone's affected.
Yes.
Just about everyone knows someone who's passed away or addicted. And
And you know what? Even if you don't, Ed, if you're driving a car, you don't know who's driving that car next to you, and you don't know if they're impaired. And you
exactly.
don't know if the cars coming the other way are going to run that red light and smash into you or kill one of your kids or grandkids. So it's not something that's just my problem and Ed's problem. If you're listening or you're watching, it's your problem too. And you can either sit back and let other people do something about it, or you can get involved, and you don't have to go beyond your comfort zone if you don't want to. I would recommend you do, but you don't have to. Ed, you continue to fight the good fight, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Joni. One last thing now. So as far as Purdue goes, so it'll probably be 2026 when the bankruptcy is finally settled.
Okay.
Their long-standing rumor is if the DOJ is going to do anything criminally, which I've been to Washington, D.C. twice outside the DOJ, begging them basically to do your job. If they're going to do anything, it's going to be after the bankruptcy. But more likely, we have Nassau County, New York, and other counties who are not signing on to this bankruptcy scam lawsuit, and they have vowed that they are going to take Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers to trial, which more and more evidence will get out there. And that's what I'm looking forward to in the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That needs to be done.
Yes, definitely. The truth needs to get out there. It's far from justice, but getting the truth out there, like I said, you shine light on things, things get better.
Yep.
You shine light on the 600,000 for 2 concerts, things get better because no other city better do that because they're going to take the heat, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ed, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Please give our love to your family and to everyone you talk to. And if you run into someone that wants to come on the podcast and tell their story, we're always willing. So
Okay, Jeremy, thanks a lot.
thanks, Ed. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week with another interview. Just a reminder, 20th of September, walkforlives.org. You can get involved in that if you want to. You don't have to walk. There's other ways that you can help and become involved. 27 September, trailoftruth.org. Check it out. Find out about their event. And then the 18th of October, lvof.org, lostvoicesoffentanyl.org, and their 5th annual demonstration in Washington, D.C. against fentanyl and raising fentanyl awareness. We'll be back and talk to you again next week.
You have been listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information, reach out to us on Facebook or go to www.theaddictionpodcast.com. Our email is theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com.